Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we're going to be making a birthday scene card using lots of different stamp sets. I did show you May the Mouse here, which is actually a retired set. I didn't even end up using it, but clearly I should probably clean out my stamps, right? Right. So I used Sweet Treats, Piece of Cake, just a lot of them. They'll all be linked below if you're watching on YouTube or linked on my blog. So this is for my sister's 50th birthday. I mean, she'd probably be mad that I told you it was for her 50th birthday, but it is, which was actually last month. That's how long ago I made this card. And so I wanted it to be all about her birthday and things that she likes, and that's why I have the coffee cup in there, because we share a love of coffee and used to have coffee dates. But I really wanted this big, large, what is the word that I want? Because it's not really like a pendant. It's like this big, long, why is this word eluding me? Like this swag thing, you know what I'm talking about, this sign, but there's a word for it, and I just, I just can't come up with it. So anyway, that's what I wanted. And so I messed around with it quite a bit with pencil. And then once I was happy with the way that it looked, I went ahead and outlined it using my EK Success journaling pens. These are discontinued. The Microns or the Copic multi-liners are comparable, but I still have some of these ones, and I will use them until I can't use them anymore because I prefer them. So I do need to mask this portion of it, so I'm just going to kind of trace it out on my masking paper with my pencil. I'm just using it, I'm not using it for ink blending, I'm just using it to cover up that portion so that when I stamp my items, they're behind it and this is still in the forefront. So it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be close enough for government work. And then there was one part that I did have to trim off because it was just a little bit too long. So here, you guys know, if you've watched my scene making cards before, basically anything that you want in the front, you stamp first, and then you will mask that and then stamp the items further in the back as you go, masking what you need to. So here, I thought maybe I could stick them, because photopolymer stamps are a little bit sticky. I thought maybe I could stick them there so that they would line up perfectly, but I've used these stamps far too much and they're not really that sticky anymore. So I'm just going to stamp these down and then trim them out for my masks. I did have some darker nail polish on this day, and so I didn't want to get it on the background, so I'm using my little Honeybee pokey tool to kind of pull those up. I never really was a pokey tool person until I got this one, and it actually does come in handy for quite a few things. So once those are trimmed out, I stamped them and masked them, and now I'm trying to get the rest of my scene put together. The cupcake from, I think it's called a Piece of Cake, is actually in a couple of different pieces, so you could pick what you want on top. And so I always choose the frosting one because I like the frosting one. I don't want a cupcake without any frosting, right? Right. And then so again, I just stamp and mask as I go. There are sometimes if I don't really know where my scene's going, I will do the masks first so that I can lay them out, which is also a super helpful trick, but certainly not something you have to do. Sometimes when I have a very clear picture in my head of what I want to do, I don't need to make the masks first. And then sometimes, honestly, I make the masks first just so it's done, because I know the video is going to be super long. When you're doing it the way that I'm doing it today, where I'm kind of just making the masks as I go, please make sure that you're double checking that your masks aren't sticking together, because sometimes it will pull up the ones below it, and then I have stamped and not realized it wasn't masked anymore because I put a mask there, but then the mask got pulled up and it's a whole to-do. But yeah, so these items, like the little cupcake, I actually colored this one to be like an Oreo cupcake, because when I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, that's what she told me. She wanted Oreo cupcakes, which unfortunately I had actually just made for our Christmas party at work, I made the same ones. And so I was expecting her to pick something different, but I ended up making, like 48 of the same cupcakes within like 2 weeks. And then it was also Graham's birthday, and she turned 91. And I apologize for just this dead space that's happening here. I apparently didn't cut that out in editing, and now you're stuck with it. Um, so Graham turned 91, and so I made her cupcakes chocolate on chocolate because that's her favorite. But she actually ended up sleeping through the majority of her party. So once I had all of my images in the forefront, I did want to put some like presents in the back as like just filler. And so I used the bows from the No Peeking set. It's actually a Christmas set, but could totally use it for birthday or, anything else that you would give gifts for. It is a wonderful set. And so I stamped those bows, and then I'm just going to go in with my T-square ruler and draw some lines to make the boxes, especially since they're much further in the background. I'm pretty much just filling it up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So Graham did sleep through the majority of her quote-unquote birthday party. So my sister's birthday is on the 27th, Graham's birthday is on the 30th, and we actually ended up getting together on Graham's birthday, just because that's what it worked out scheduling-wise. And she was pretty sleepy that day. A lot of you people, wonderful people, ask all the time about how my grandma is doing, and she is doing mostly well. She is basically, my mom has turned her living room, dining room into a room for Graham. So she is in a hospital bed, like one of the cots, in the front room, where she has a TV and all those things. There's a couch in there. But then my mom also has a day bed in the connecting dining room portion, because my grandmother does not like to be left alone. And if she wakes up and there's nobody there, she's very frightened. So my mom sleeps in this day bed in the dining room. And then when my dad gets up in the morning, it's funny how habits stay with you, because he, got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, for work forever. And so he still gets up relatively early. So when he gets up in the morning, then he wakes my mom up, and then, my mom can go upstairs to her bed, where she can have uninterrupted sleep. That doesn't always work out, because sometimes Graham gets up super early in the morning, and then she's just up for the day. Sometimes she sleeps all day. Like, it just depends on what kind of day she's having. Back to the card for a minute. So here, I'm coloring in like the folds of the drapery. I did draw in some lines for myself to follow, just like you would see in any other stamp. Like you have your illustrator that adds in these lines for you to follow as guidelines. So here I wanted the banner. Oh my word. Oh, Lordy mercy. Banner. That is the word that I could not come up with. Oh, why? Why? I don't know. Anyway, so the banner, yes, we got there. It was a long walk. So I wanted the folds to be prevalent, but I also wanted it to be white, and that is why I am coloring it with the grays. It does look pretty dark right now, but if you've watched any of my videos before, just hang tight. Once we add color, it will look white. It will not look like this, dirty gray sheet that's hanging across the front of the card. So just adding that so it looks a little bit more dimensional. And then I'm also going to add like a countertop or tabletop or whatever, some ground basically for these items to sit on. And I'm going to do that with these same gray markers, except I'm going to treat them as gray. You're going to see I make a little bit of a boo-boo, which, I mean, I do on all my cards because nobody's perfect. I'm not Jesus. So I'm just going to color that in, starting with my darkest colors toward the back, and then move out to the lightest color, which is the C1. and just kind of blend all of those things in. Now, after I have done this, and I should have just stopped here, I realized that in the corner, like back behind this little chocolate, it looked like I had no ground. Well, the reason it looks like I have no ground is because it's a present box. Like the box goes all the way over behind the other present, but that's not really how. Oh no, I do it with the wall. I'm sorry. No, I do it with the floor. Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. So here I'm like, okay, this needs to be ground, and then I can start adding in the blue color behind the wall. I'm coloring the box, y'all. Like inside inside there, I'm totally coloring the box, and then I realize it. So this does sway me choosing my colors. There's not much wall here to fill in, and I just did like a light blue because I figured, I view blue as a neutral. You guys know that. So it would just be like nice offset to whatever colors I decided to use in the forefront. And so now I've realized I've colored the box, and I have to make a choice about what colors I'm going to use. So rather than trying to force something that's going to look unnatural, I just went ahead and decided to use some darker blues, which will cover that up nicely. Nobody will ever know, except for you guys watching the video, nobody will ever know that I colored it wrong to begin with. Like I colored it the wrong area. So I'm just pretty much going to outline that. There is a portion behind this little handle that I did not get a line into because it was masked. So I'm going to put that back in and then continue my my coloring. Pretty much just outlined it so the darkest part was right next to the items that would be in front of it, and then just worked out to a lighter blue on the edges. Not that any of these blues are particularly light, but you get what I'm saying. And then I'm going to pretty much just kind of try to equally disperse my colors. So now I've picked this blue I'm committed to, and then I'm going to do this bow over here and just kind of try to make it so it's a little bit more balanced and even. I ended up using red, blue, and purple. Those were the colors that I went with. Probably not what I would normally be would gravitate towards, but her gift from me was a framed print that was customized. So it's like the back of 3 girls, and you can pick like their hairstyle and what they're wearing and all that jazz, and then what they're holding. And so the one that I had customized for her looks like me and my 3 sisters, and then we're each holding like coffee mugs. One of us is holding Michelle is holding the iced coffee because that's what she always goes for, and then I am holding the other coffee, which is the hot coffee, and my sister Kimberly is in the middle. She is the middle child, and it says sisters are the perfect best friend, and then it has our names at the bottom. And so that I thought that it would just be a nice kind of compliment to use all 3 of our favorite colors to go along with her gift that is about the 3 of us. So obviously I'm blue, clearly. Kimberly is purple and Michelle is red. Those are our 3 favorite colors. And so I knew I was going to have to put red in it. Obviously, it's her birthday card. But yeah, so I'm just going to go through and do that coloring, lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest, just like I always do. So what we were talking about Graham. So yeah, Graham is doing pretty good on most days. It used to be my mom is one of 4 children, and so in the beginning it used to be that they would split the time. So my mom would take care of Graham, and this is like we're talking like 10 years ago, because that's how long I can't believe it's been that long. Well, it's been, I think, this year will be 10 years since my grandfather passed away. And then shortly after that is when Graham came to live with my parents because she couldn't live by herself. Wow, it's a long time. So they used to split it up. So I have an uncle that lives in Ohio, and then I have an uncle who lives in Georgia, and I have an aunt who lives in Texas. Graham and my papa were snowbirds. So they had a second home in Florida. And so in the beginning, she still wanted to go to Florida, but she couldn't stay by herself. Well, my mother was retired. So, like, she would go down there with her, or my uncle would drive down to Georgia to be down there with her. My other uncle, who lives in Ohio, would fly down there. My aunt would come visit from Texas. But then after I had Nathan, my parents were pretty much the primary caregivers for Nathan. So I worked night shift back then. And I would, his dad, my ex-husband, would drop off Nathan before he left for work, because I didn't get off work until 7:30 and he had to be at work at 7. So he would take Peanut to my parents' house, and then I would go home, go to sleep, get up, go pick him up, and then we would be together, as a family throughout the evening until I had to go to work that night. And by that time, obviously, Peanut was already sleeping because I wasn't going to work until 11:30 at night. So once I had Peanut, my mom really didn't go to Florida very often. And if she did, she would only go for like 2 weeks at a time. And she would try to schedule it like when I was off work. Then it got to the point where Graham traveling was very challenging. So when she would travel, when she would go, like they got rid of the place in Florida, and then she would go stay in Georgia with my uncle, and she would go stay in Texas with my aunt. My mom would fly. My mother is incredible. Like, just so you are aware, like, she is legit a superhero. Like, you guys make comments all the time in my YouTube videos about, like, I don't know how you do all the things that you do in the time that you have to do them. Let me tell you, I learned from the best, because my mother is nothing short of amazing. I'm getting a little emotional. Anyway, I'm very blessed. I thank God every day for my mom. So she would fly Graham to Texas or to Georgia, and then legit turn around. Like, they would pick Graham, her brother or sister would pick Graham up from the airport, and like my mom would turn around and get back on a plane and come back to Ohio. Like, she didn't stay and have any vacation time for herself, or, like, I think once she stayed in Texas for a couple of days to visit with my aunt and her, because I think my niece was, or her niece, which is my cousin, was in town at the time, and then her nephew, my other cousin. But like, typically she would just, she'd fly down there, and then she'd drop Graham off, and then turn around and fly back home, and she'd just spend her whole day flying. So, and then my uncle, who lives in Ohio, was still working. So rather than him taking Graham for any extended period of time, he would just come out to the house and watch Graham. Like when my parents would maybe go out of town on vacation, or, something like that. Or if they needed to, like, hit a bowling tournament or something, they would come out and watch Graham, or he would come out and watch Graham. So now pretty much all of that is stopped. She cannot travel. So for the last, I don't know, probably 2 years, 3 years, it's just been my mom. And my aunt does try, but my aunt, none of these people are spring chickens. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother's 91. Her children are all, at the youngest, in their 60s. So, like, my aunt has her own health problems, but she does try to, every once in a while, like, come up to help my mom. And in February, my dad is going to have hip replacement surgery. And so right now, my dad, who, again, not a spring chicken, in his 70s, helps with Graham. And I'm sure that neither one of them saw their retirement going this way, of spending all their time taking care of Graham, and like they can't really travel and they can't really do things for themselves because they're taking care of Graham, but they do it with next to no complaints. Like, honestly, it's. But my mom did the same thing when my dad's mom was sick. Now, I don't really remember my dad's mom. She passed away when I was 4. So my older siblings do have more memories of her, but I was very young, so I don't. But she also lived in our family room, or our living room, in a hospital bed. She had cancer, and my mom took care of her with young children. I mean, I just told you she died when I was 4. My mom did, took care of her until her medical needs got to the point where she could not provide the medical care that was necessary for her. And then they found her a nursing home that was like right down the street from our house. So my mom would take Michelle to school, and then Kim and I would go to the nursing home with her, and she'd be there with Graham all day. She'd come home, she'd make dinner. My dad would come home from work and eat dinner, and then he would take my grandmother up a plate and he would spend the evening with her, so she wasn't alone. So, like, they've just been rocking this thing their whole lives. And so now, that's what they're doing with Graham, which is amazing. Like, seriously. But so Graham can't really travel, but she is, and she has gotten much harder of hearing. So sometimes you kind of have to shout at her, and she wears headphones to watch TV. And she seems to do best when you talk to her about things that are a little bit older. If you talk to her about times when she was younger, because of the dementia and the Alzheimer's, things that are more current aren't really things that she can have conversations about. That's just kind of passed her by. But yeah, that's kind of where Graham's at, for those of you who have asked. But then, like I said, my dad is going to have this hip replacement surgery, so my aunt is going to come up to help my mom, and then all of us, they have 3 kids, all of us are going to take time off of work to go to the house and help. Eric, who is a rock star, and I'm super blessed to be married to him. He has gone through 2 hip replacement surgeries with his dad, and he basically was just like, listen, I'm going to take time off of work and I'm just going to live at your parents' house, because while everybody else is helping with Graham, like, somebody's going to need to help Dad. Which my dad, I think, is in a little bit of denial of how much help he'll need, at least in the first couple of weeks, to get around. But since Eric kind of lived it with his dad already, he said that with his dad, for the first 2 weeks, he pretty much like slept on the floor. If he needed to get to the bathroom or to the shower or any of that, he needed help, needed assistance getting to all those places and getting all those things taken care of. So that is what we have to look forward to in the coming weeks, but hopefully it'll make him feel much better, because it really does cause him quite a bit of pain. So we talked about before with the Oreo cupcakes. So in the frosting of the Oreo cup, like, they're called cookies and cream cupcakes, but it's cream cheese frosting, and then you crush up Oreos and put them into the frosting. So I wanted to mimic that texture of having like those little black speckles. So I used a gray marker to do that, to kind of tap that in after I put in the shading, before I moved on to the purple color, to add that in to the rest of the card. I'm losing my voice. I don't really know what's happening there. But yeah, so we got another crazy couple of months coming up. Like I told you in the other video that I put up this week, we are still doing the refinishing furniture. We kind of had disaster strike with this most recent table, which we don't have enough time in this video for me to recant that whole story. So I'll have to save it for the next video. You guys crack me up with your comments, like, you could talk about anything and I would listen to you. And I appreciate that, because I don't really think I'm all that entertaining. But the problem is the coming up with things to discuss when you're not you know, doing anything, which I'm not. I'm not really, I'm working and I'm coming home and I'm working on furniture and, that's pretty much it. You're doing the regular getting Peanut to school, getting homework done, bath time, making dinners. I'm so tired of making dinners. Oh my word, I'm so tired of making dinners. Anybody else? Anybody else? I feel like I make the same things just all the time. And I said something to my mom the other day when we were on the phone. I was like, I'm so tired. I said, it's not even the cooking, it's this the coming up with stuff. And she was like, I just had the same conversation with your sister not but 10 minutes ago. So clearly, like, we're all in the same boat here. And not that we couldn't order out more. I try to be healthier, and not eat out all the time. Plus, that's so expensive. So expensive. Like, we'll order Chick-fil-A and it'll be like a $50 bill for the three of us. But Chick-fil-A is worth it. Yes, it is. I love me some Chick-fil-A. So here I'm just adding in some white highlights into the different images. I am going to give myself a fun little polka dot pattern on this coffee cup, just to add a little something something, because I like the details. I do. I added some stripes on the presents. I'm using a much smaller nib. I think this is a 0.25 to add in some black dots into the frosting to just really kind of drive home that Oreo frosting look. And then I did outline everything because I am a crazy person, and you all know this. I'm adding some shimmer. This is just clear shimmer pen to all of my bows and candies, because I don't know, it makes them look prettier, and I like glitter. That's pretty much all I have for you there. And then, I did do the sparklies. This is Stardust stickles. It's my favorite stickles, and I did those on the sprinkles, and then added a little bit to some of the bows. Again, these are just little detail things. You certainly don't need to do them. I just like the details. That's just me. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I know it's kind of a long one, but I will catch you on the next video. Bye.